Hey, how's it going? I just want to do a quick video on a couple Reddit posts. So I'm just going to kind of read these and it should be sort of self-explanatory. But this is from Recruiting Hell. The American job market is a mental hospital. There was a time in America when a man who wanted to work could find work. It ain't like that no more. In fact, there are 6 million people in this country who are chronically unemployed. That's the combined populations of Chicago, Houston, and Sacramento. They'll never work again. That's alarming enough. What's going to happen to their kids? If things keep going the way they are, they'll never work at all. Now I have to disclose upfront here that I'm writing this post for a specific purpose. You see, I have a blog where I've already written 8 articles this year on the job market in America. The more I write on this subject, the more I discover, and what I'm learning is alarming. That's the nicest word I can use. I want to know if writing on this subject is worthwhile for an audience like this one. If so, I will continue, and trust me when I say I've got some blockbusters in my to-write file that will knock you right out of your socks. You want to know why our job market is a single-string banjo psychiatric ward? You are not alone. People are getting fed up. That's also the nicest way I can put it. My name is Shane Lachlan Black. I'm a science fiction and fantasy author. Both my parents were award-winning television and newspaper journalists. It's not surprising I became a writer. I wrote my first news lead when I was 6 and broke my first statewide story in the 10th grade. I take to being a reporter the same way a duck takes to a spring pond. I've also written 8 full-length novels. I'm a former technology professional, aren't we all? I know 8 programming languages. He lists them all. I have more than 25 years experience in every IT role from a code monkey to CEO. I started programming computers when Gerald Ford was president. I have a 3-page resume and a 1-page variant because 3 pages is hard. My resume is crammed to the margins with technical skills and leadership achievements, including products that have generated more than $5 million at retail. One of the first 25,000 websites ever published, and production credits in more than 40 commercial video game titles. Since I know you're wondering, I sent out 300 job applications this year, not a single response. But you already know that, and you know why I'm not getting hired. We're headed for a bad place in these United States. Qualified and experienced people can't find work, and we're paying a terrible price. The paranoia and narcissism amongst hiring managers and recruiters in this country is frankly a menace, and something has to be done before our perilously teetering economy goes right off a cliff and takes our society and country with it. The job market consists of recruiters who insist that candidates lie and then put those same candidates through 6 rounds of automated chow-eating retardedness to catch them in a lie. The average resume gets 6 seconds of attention. Only 1 in 8 employment applications filed in 2017 got interviews. If you get an interview, it's a reenactment of the most recent confirmation hearings for the Joint Chiefs of Staff. Then if you manage to miraculously get hired, you are issued a Nerf gun so you can play with the other millennials. Apparently that's why you needed a background check, 3 rounds of technology tests, and an MSCS. Then you get laid off 7 weeks later. Recruiters ask why you want to work at a particular company, knowing full well the answer is because I want money. But in order to keep from being disqualified for the job at Cardboard King Inc., they force you to say something like, I'm passionate about cardboard. They don't do this because they care about how passionate you are. They just want to see if they can make you say something stupid that tells them you'll be far more compliant later when the real fraud begins. Add to all that the fact that wages have been stagnant for 46 years and people are being worked into nervous breakdowns with 60 to 70-hour weekly schedules, and you have a rubber band that is stretched about as tight as it will go. Lest you think I'm some kind of anti-capitalist, I'm here to tell you this has nothing to do with capitalism. This is happening because business leaders in our country have no character. They are motivated by greed and sadism, and they are trying to create a world where employment is a privilege and the rest of you will just have to get used to your new income-free lifestyle. I'm fairly certain I don't have to explain how that movie ends. If you'd like to see more from me on this topic, I'm looking forward to your comments and opinions. The first step towards solving a problem is admitting it exists. Consider this post me hitting the bullshit alarm. Blackout. That's a good one. That's the first one I wanted to read, and this one is on a more sort of interpersonal level. Just spoke with my wife. My wife told me she's frustrated that she's the primary breadwinner and snapped at me on multiple things. Here's my deal. I left a comfy, cushy paying Silicon Valley job, corporate gig in 2011 to start a company with a friend. We had some success and bootstrapped the business to decent revenues, but they got crushed by venture-backed competitors who flooded our space. We had some team conflicts and ended up doing an asset sale to one of our partners. We didn't really make much money. From 2014 to 15, I tried to validate different ideas. Some personal setbacks put me into a deep depression for several months. When I finally emerged, I decided to get a job. And then he kind of goes through just other experiences that he's had, and then just stuff happening within the company that causes him to lose his job. And he's I've been job hunting for 4 months now and have gotten to final rounds at a few places, but ultimately get passed on for someone younger with less resume gaps, etc. I'm honestly shocked by some of the outcomes. Places where I feel like I would have had a great shot or thought the interview went great, I get passed on. Many places I get filtered out after the phone screen. This could be in my head, but I get a sense no one wants to take a chance on me given my non-linear path, or they think I won't stick around and will go back to entrepreneurship, or my resume just doesn't make sense. I'm in my late 30s, have a family to support, and catch myself having suicidal thoughts. I hate myself for what I put my wife through and now have a son to support as well. I don't want him to grow up feeling like his dad is a loser. Should I just give up hunting or try and build a business? And this is becoming more and more common. This is just, like the first post that I wrote is sort of the bird's eye view of what's going on. And then he also personalizes it to what's going on in his own life. And this is the same kind of thing. It's just the system does not value people who are independent, creative, and have skills. They're just looking for zombies, who will play along with, the vibe, the initiatives, the agendas of the top down. And I mean top, even above the corporate level. I'm talking about the vibration, the agenda of what's going on Earth right now, in my opinion, this beast system. And so that's the way, the job market is. It's just profit at all costs. And that will never stop, or slow down, because it's just, it's a mechanism in place that has no real checks and balances and has no reason to stop. It's just like the ball earthers tell us that the earth is just spinning because there's no external forces acting on it. It's the same with this. There's no external force or internal force that's altering this trajectory in the corporate world, and just in our just entire financial monetary system worldwide. And so this is what happens. Resources get scarce, cost cutting happens, you have more turmoil, like he's describing in some of his experiences in corporate America. And then, companies get shut down, sold, all that kind of stuff, bought up by others and all that. So there's just all this stuff going on that is completely does not care about the individual person and the employees at all. And it's strictly just doing what needs to be done, whatever M&A, mergers and acquisitions activity needed to, again, create profits, maintain profits, and all that kind of stuff. That's what happens. And so people get sloughed off and laid off, and then people start looking for jobs. And for people like this who are qualified to look for a job for 4 months is ridiculous. And then it's even more absurd that our corporate media is telling us that we have the lowest unemployment rate ever and all that. It's like an obvious lie that, again, I know now that I'm living in a movie because pretty much everybody's lying, and again, I'm not trying to say that I'm some kind of saint, but it's like there's so many people who are just reading a script that it's just, you can't ignore it now, and I think a lot of people know that. It's not even like from a religious angle. It's just the way it is. And so people are realizing that this system is following a quote unquote script, in my opinion, the narrative of the Bible and like the beast system, like I said, and it's just keep plugging along. It's going to keep turning and churning. It's not funny at all, but it's just there's nothing really I can do personally anymore but laugh at all this because it's so ridiculous, and so posts like these are just further confirmation for me that we're in the end times, because there's no resistance to this system continuing to be greedy and just feed a few people at the top, and then many people, more than I care to admit, are actually wanting enslavement, and not speaking out against the fact that they are enslaved to a great degree. And so that further affirms to me that the system will just keep going, and do what it needs to do. And then the sad reality is people like this, will have suicidal thoughts, and then they will have no choice. Like at some point when bills don't get paid and you don't have money, you have the choice of either being relying completely on somebody else, which you may not be able to do. And then, families might get broken up and split up because of that, or you can, live, just be homeless, or just, realize that that's such a great and drastic change from what a person is used to that, they won't accept that, and then they will take their own life. And I have a feeling that the suicide rate has gone way up since the '08 crash, but possibly even well before that. Middle class, upper class and all that, like people, especially here in America, like we've all been accustomed to a lot of sort of conveniences and, access to things. And so when that's taken away fairly abruptly, it's difficult, and I'm putting myself in this, it's just, I would not accept being homeless for one day. And I'm not trying to be rude, but I barely feel safe, like in my own apartment and where I am and where I go, just with what I know now more, the kind of spirits that are out here. And so out on the street, sleeping overnight, I would not do that for one night. And I'm not being disrespectful to the poor. I don't even recommend the poor to do that. It's like, that's not a safe place to be, at all. And, I would much rather die. I would be more than happy to not have to live like that for one day. And so it's just posts like this on Reddit are just, again, making it more and more obvious that this system is completely broken, and there is nothing in place to fix it. And that's what the Bible says will happen. That Babylon would want to be healed, but God would want it, but it won't. And we don't want it as a collective group. We don't want this to stop. We are essentially, all of us, in subtle ways and small ways, asking to be enslaved. And those who accept enslavement through the mark of the beast, which I feel has to be soon, simply because people are literally running out of money by not having a job or finding a job at all. And the sad reality is that the person like this who does get any kind of offer, even if it's just a job that's not at all in line with their interests or what their background is, they'll have to take it. They'll have no choice. And so that creates a bad situation where all the experiences and effort that anybody has put forward, in their education or career up to that point, can oftentimes be completely diluted, or just rendered useless. And so it's a very, very weird situation, that a lot of people are in, especially people who are in their 30s when they still have a pretty big chunk of their career left. Well over half of their career still left and all that. So, it's looks like we're in the last days. Hope everyone's doing well. Bye.